It is the trends. Neil Atkinson with Josh Williams to work through a little bit of Arsenal. It was some time ago now. And then a little bit on a couple of other things that have caught my eye, and a little bit on how Isak may well play with Salah, with Ekitike, with Wirtz, and a little bit on Brighton versus Man City, which I was obsessed by. Did you watch Brighton? I should have asked you this. Did you watch it?
I
Brighton,
didn't
Man
watch
City.
it, no. I saw the goals though.
You saw the goals? We'll do, the numbers are brilliant, so they're to come. But we're going to start off with Liverpool versus Arsenal. We've got the race chart on your screen now. If you look on your screen, the race chart looks like all the other race charts, and me and Josh have just been talking about this. What they obviously want to do with StatsBomb, which is perfectly reasonable, is fill the space. What that means, though, is that your axis on the left-hand side goes from 0 to 0.5 in this instance. So if Liverpool did what they did against Newcastle all the way back in 2024, when they broke the record for XG, that axis would be the same side, but it'd go all the way up to 7. The point here is to say that whilst these look like the quite significant leaps for the race chart, they're just not. 0.5 versus 0.45 is a really low event game. It's important to therefore dwell on that. So there's a big jump you see for Arsenal there, and it's just a couple of headers that come in from corners, or one sort of half deflected chance, one header from a corner or vice versa, and neither of them are worth more than 0.1 expected goals, because no shot in the game is worth more than 0.1 expected goals all the way through, Josh. So I want to make that clear, because it was a low event game, and in the end Liverpool get it from a moment of magic.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I couldn't put it better myself. I think it's one of them games where both sides were looking to take any risks. I felt lots of respect between both teams, but as a result of that, and we do see this every now and then, I think we had 1 or 2 Pep versus Klopp games like this where it's like a game of chicken, it's a game of chess, and as a result of that, no one really creates any tap-ins. So both teams...
You're thinking about the City 2018 game. What I think is sad...
The one with the Mahrez pen, where he misses it, that's what I'm thinking.
The one at Anfield. We played Napoli midweek. There've been European games midweek, and we had a real bruiser at Napoli. We got beat, but also I think we had a couple of injuries, and we came back a bit battered and bruised. They turned up, and it was the first time I'd ever seen anyone take goal kicks backwards. Because they were trying to undo the damage in Liverpool's press. So they were literally, the goalkeeper would take a goal kick backwards to John Stones on the goal line, as if to say to Liverpool, if you want to press us, you've got to use the whole of the pitch. It was the first time I'd ever seen anyone do that.
I don't recall, actually.
And they pushed right up. So yes, my issue with this, in general, is on the whole, those Liverpool versus City games were real spectacles and things to be excited about. And I think the desired approach from Arsenal, and I think it is Arsenal, is meaning the Liverpool versus Arsenal games are tepid nonsenses, and I think it's a real shame for football. It's
interesting that you think it's Arsenal. So you think specifically in this game it was Arsenal that caused this?
Yeah, I'll go on to show the pass network and show you why.
That's interesting.
So the pass network, this is your first half pass network, and I think Liverpool are struggling to get out and play to any real degree, but part of the reason why that's the case is because Arsenal aren't just circulating the ball along the back line with one of the centre midfielders, they're doing it with 2, and I'd argue as well that Marino drops in. So you end up in a situation where Arsenal had an extra man, for me, in this game, but their extra man was always sat between the 2 centre-backs. So they wanted to be so press resistant from Liverpool's point of view. If they'd have gambled, they could have had an extra man moving further forward. This is just the first half, but they could have found a way to have the extra man further forward. But we get to see here where they've chosen their extra man to be. Now, Liverpool, trust me, Liverpool aren't playing very well. I thought Liverpool were terrible first half. I thought Liverpool were there for the taking first half. Genuinely, I think that Arsenal are doing what they want to do first half, and I think Liverpool are just playing badly. And then I think Liverpool changed it second half, and I think if you go back to the race chart, you get to see Liverpool are creating more, and it's not much, don't get me wrong, but are getting into areas in that second half period. There's the disallowed goal, which comes from a decent passage of play from Liverpool, and I think Liverpool are beginning to take gambles in the second half, which we'll come on to. But I think that first half where Declan Rice and Zuba, basically Arsenal could decide what to do with Declan Rice, and their decision as to what to do with Declan Rice was for him to hold Zuba Mendy's hand, whereas they could have said they wanted Declan Rice to go and challenge Dominic Szoboszlai, back up Martinelli and Gyökeres. And they went, now our spare man's gonna be stood by the left-hand side of centre half.
Yeah, I mean, the pass match is interesting. Like, if you look at it from Arsenal's perspective, we often see 5 players ahead of the ball, 5 players behind the ball, and that's kind of how teams strike the balance nowadays. But Arsenal there have got 3 ahead of the ball, and everyone else behind it by the looks of things. So it definitely is like a defensive-minded, cautious approach, and I would never contest that when it comes to Arsenal. But I felt personally from both sides it was like a game of respect, and it was a game of not wanting to give anything up. As a result of that, no chances come for any side, and I think second half Liverpool made the changes, the proactive changes that would swing the game in their favour, and we see that. And I think maybe Arsenal at half time were intent on just consolidating what they'd just done in the first half, basically. So I agree with the flow of the game, like, but
that's what I think. That's what I think happens, and I think it's. If I supported Arsenal, and a couple of people do support Arsenal, texted me, and they're not representative for a second, but their attitude was, we should have had a plan to win that game and not just keep Liverpool at arm's length. I think the second half Liverpool begin to have a plan to win the game. There's a couple of things that are a little bit interesting I'll come on to on the passing on ball value, but straight away from the sort of the big shift that you get to see both in terms of the passing of the ball is suddenly Szoboszlai is higher and much more progressive, and in practice becomes more tucked in as well. Whether or not Liverpool can always find him, Gravenberch stopped splitting the centre backs. I think Arsenal's pass map is massively skewed by virtue of the fact that most of the passing that Arsenal did in the second half happens after it goes 1-0 Liverpool. So it becomes this slightly mucky little thing, and that obviously the subs play a part. But I'm struck by McAllister and Wirtz and their sort of proximity to each other, given the fact that McAllister was also only on for 15 minutes. And then we said that Jones came on and made a difference. If you actually move forwards, the on-ball value, and it's all pretty pathetic stuff, but the on-ball value, it's striking to me that I wouldn't have said this, but Liverpool get more on-ball value with Wirtz receiving the ball than Arsenal do from any passing combination, full stop. And Arsenal's number one on-ball value passing combination is the goalkeeper to Marino. And I think that this is the second half period. And I think that this is, for me, indicative of the fact that this is how Liverpool changed. Was they managed, and I think that Wirtz actually is more impactful in the second half, not just because these numbers, I thought so in general, in the general conversation. I think Wirtz actually has a good second half against Arsenal, and he really helps Liverpool get up.
Yeah, I think it's his best half so far for Liverpool, to be honest. I think the Szoboszlai point is an interesting one, because I think in the first half, Calafiori is a problem for Liverpool because of the position that he's taken up. So he was dragging Gravenberch over. As a result of dragging one of Liverpool's midfielders over, Liverpool couldn't really get a grip in the midfield department. So I think second half, and Slot touches on this, he moves Szoboszlai up to take care of Calafiori, which you can see in the pass map there. That allowed Gravenberch to come inside to the actual midfield, which is where it belongs. And then Liverpool went man for man in the midfield then. So it was a sort of little tweak, but one that allowed Liverpool to gain more of a foothold, get more of a midfield in there, take care of Calafiori, get Szoboszlai higher, and we go from there. So and as a result of that, Wirtz gets on the ball more, and he's getting found by Szoboszlai as well. You can see that by the colour of his bubble. So it was a healthy second half. I
think there's a thing as well where it allows them, and this is back to what Arsenal do first half, where I talk about dropping both Rice and Zubimendi so deep by the centre backs. I think Liverpool realise, well, we can just jump on Declan Rice because he doesn't want to come the other way.
Yeah,
he's been given this job of sort of ameliorate the Liverpool press by being an available pass, but he doesn't want to go the other way.
Yeah.
And I think that means that Liverpool can just go, well, we'll just, into the zone that we thought you'd be in, we'll just go and flood that zone.
Yeah.
And this is back to, I'll say again, I feel as though the Arsenal manager has to be able to throw a dig. At least one.
Yeah.
And because if he does, then I think that Liverpool are rocked. Firstly, I think they probably go in 1-0 up at half-time, Arsenal, and then they can sit right the way back. But I think, too, that if in order to be able to be more solid, ironically, I just think you've got to carry a little bit more threat. And I think that Liverpool, I wonder if Liverpool at half-time almost all look at each other and go, well, we've got this three up front. You might as well go. You might as well go. And it's interesting, Kerkers actually drops a little deeper, second half in the average positions, but Szoboszlai goes. And it's almost Liverpool decide they're happy to defend Arsenal 3v3, where it's Kerkers versus Madueke, Van Dijk versus Gyökeres, and Konate versus Martinelli. And Liverpool's attitude's almost like, yeah, fine.
Well, I thought Gyökeres was funny, actually, to be honest. Last time we did this show...
We can't get carried away yet.
We can't get carried away yet, but last time we did this show, we did describe him as a pudding. And I'm more convinced after this one. I thought Liverpool would deal with him very easily with the two centre-halves that we've got, and it proved to be the case, but still wait and watch, innit?
I mean, I think we're 4 weeks away from not asking whether or not he is a pudding, but what type of pudding. Is he a sticky toffee? Is he steak and kidney? You know, I think we're not that far away from wanting clarification on the type of pudding that he is. But for now, we don't want to get too carried away. But
anyone who we can't bully physically, though, I would worry for him. and he's not going to be able to bully many in England. So it's definitely one to watch.
It definitely is one to watch on the pudding basis. Match stats are interesting. XP. Match stats are interesting in that it's interesting just how sort of tightly matched both sides are. I think there's a little thing in Liverpool's pressure regains being 50% better than Arsenal's in there. So pressure's very similar, but Liverpool's pressure regains are better. I think you've got to be careful with that in a game like this. But this goes back to Arsenal's approach. I think Arsenal were happier to empty under pressure rather than be pressed. They were happy as long as the ball just disappeared, and so Liverpool then get it back in the form of a throw-in or something like that. But again, this comes back to the fact that I think as soon as Arsenal came under genuine pressure, there was no real desire to play, and sometimes you've just got to. And this is the curiosity of them, which is that I think you can respect them and see how good the shell is and the shape is and the way they block the passing lanes. But even little things like they block the passing lanes so well, you don't take a chance. So they don't offer you any risk reward.
Yeah. I think that's where I am with it. I have a lot of respect for what you've just said there with the compactness of the shell and the ability to soak pressure and how difficult they are to play against, how difficult they are to play through. I respect a lot of that, but at the same time, I'm probably not considering enough how easy that is to strike if you just don't attack ever. So there's definitely a balance there that is probably off with them a little bit. And they are horrible to play against. I don't want to play them again, you know, so they have that impact on you. But as you say, they don't really pose much of a threat, and there's a lot of coaches out there that can coach a defence, but once they actually get asked to attack, can they do both? And Liverpool can, or certainly could last season. This season a little bit wobbly on the defensive end. But are
you impressed with Liverpool on the defensive end in this game? Because I think it's a funny one to sort of judge. I am. But I still don't feel as though they were attacked enough. Like, I think, you know, if ultimately I think that Bournemouth's game state and Bournemouth's threat was better on 85 minutes at Anfield than Arsenal's.
Yeah,
so on 85 minutes we were 1-0 up. Against Bournemouth it was 2-2. But also you were more concerned at 2-2 against Bournemouth about something hitting us the other way than you were at 1-0 against Arsenal. And Arsenal are meant to be the second best team in the country.
But I think against Arsenal, probably because it's Arsenal, Liverpool had the appreciation for, like, if we go forward, we need the right cover here. In the other games that we've played so far, you know, of like Crystal Palace and the Community Shield and Bournemouth and that, I think we've been too gung-ho, too overload. And you need to keep those players behind the ball. So almost, like, I think going into the games coming up and that, you almost want to keep what you did against Arsenal, but you'll be able to do more on the ball because you won't come up against 18 centre-halves again, you know, so but that rest defence that we had in place, the safety net, that was a really healthy one, the best one that we've seen this season, I think, but we just need to keep doing it with the on-ball stuff as well. I
think we are going to keep doing it from this point. I'll be intrigued to see. Corners, these are Arsenal's attacking corners, they won 2 of them in there, 2 were no touch, 4 were won by a Liverpool first claim. Do you know what percentage Liverpool are? It's only 3 games. Top 5 leagues in Europe, what percentage for Liverpool are Liverpool for XG conceded this season?
Overall?
Yeah.
Say that again.
So XG conceded so far this season. This isn't a slide, by the way, that I've got to hand, but I'll pull it up on the screen now for you. XG conceded so far this season. How good are Liverpool? From 1 percentile being shit to 100 percentile being boss.
I'd say around 50, but I've got no clue.
No, I'm not expecting you to have a clue because it's fucking insane. On XG conceded so far this season, Liverpool are 98th percentile.
As in good?
As in good.
That's very weird. Very weird. It doesn't feel like that watching Liverpool.
It doesn't at all. But it's true. I mean, they listen to 3 games, so it's a tiny sample, but it's mad.
Have you seen the XG4 though?
For
as in
full stop,
what we're creating.
Oh yeah, it's very low.
Yeah, so
it's very 32nd percentile for that at the minute. But that's massively game state influenced, I think. Currently.
Yeah, I agree. But you could argue so far we've been quiet at both ends in a weird sort of way, according to the numbers at least.
According to the numbers, yeah. Also, Liverpool are doing unbelievably well for opposition passing percentage, but I think that a lot of that is also game state influenced as well, in the nature of your opponents. That'll shift, although I think it will remain strong for Liverpool. But yeah, 98th percentile for XG, set piece XG conceded is one of those great examples of the numbers just not doing what you expect them to.
No.
As you go all the way through. Arsenal's first half pressure map on your screen there. Arsenal's second half pressure map on your screen there. Arsenal dropped off massively for reasons that we don't understand.
Hold the fort.
I think it could also just be, this is back to throwing a dig. I think Liverpool asked them questions. I think Liverpool say to Arsenal, you need to worry about this a bit more now. And I think this is back to, and this is the thing I think that Arsenal do need to think about, is that you can be really, really solid, but you need to be able to ask the opposition questions.
Yeah, I agree. I think as I said before, I think Arteta's gone in at half-time and been happy with what he saw and said basically do it again. Slot's gone in and been like, we need to fix this, this and this. And when we've been the better side in the second half. Arteta hasn't really responded.
Yeah. Liverpool heat map there for pressures, just for good order's sake. You get to see a lot of Ekitike being front-footed. The number of pressures is interesting in that it's a relatively low-pressure game. We're going to come on and talk about Brighton, Man City in a bit, and Brighton put in 295. Liverpool and Arsenal are both at around 150. What is mildly interesting and one to watch is Salah's number. Is, for Salah, actually quite high.
Yeah, well, I pointed out last time that I think he was on 10, and I was surprised. That's 16, is it?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah.
So he's on 16. Szoboszlai's on 17. Now, obviously, he's playing from right back. Viet is on 17. He comes off a little earlier. Ekitike is doing the job of the man who plays number 9 for Liverpool, which is to work your balls off. And I wonder, and I'm struck by, Isak is a hard-working player, but he is also coming in as a British record transfer. And I do wonder if there's a little bit of a conflict that could well emerge at some point. But Liverpool, like a number 9 who's going to press and press and press and press.
Yeah, well, Ekitike is shown that there. Is he on 31 there, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really impressive. That's Bobby Firmino stuff, really. But Isak, to be fair, does work. You know, you've just said there that he does do that, and I've been watching clips of him lately. He definitely presses. He's a keen presser. I think last season for Newcastle, when it comes to like pressure regains in the final third, he was right up there for them. So it's not something I'm too worried about, to be fair, but unless he gets that luxury Galactico tag and he starts believing his own hype. I
don't think that'll be the case. Here is Isak. Here is Alexander Isak. So just want to touch on, this was his goal map, well, shot map for last season. This was his post-shot XG map. Post-shot XG 18.919. These are all the shots on target, is the best way to view it.
Yeah.
So these are the shots on target, and I want to talk about where they're sort of grouped here. They're all very, obviously the ones that are around the penalty spots, 6-yard box. There's a couple of things I like about them. They're all high value, but they all hit the back of the net. There's probably just one orange rectangle, hexagon there that you wouldn't mind seeing hit the back of the net. Everything else this is a good chance it gets stuck in. And I think that's no bad thing for him at this point on that post-shot XG. But that's where his chances are. This is the reason why I've illustrated this last season. There's loads and loads. That is broadly between the sticks. There's not much coming from the left, which I think is interesting because one of the things I think's been interesting about Ekitike so far is you get the impression that he wants to pull that way. Whereas looking at Isak here, just in terms of where he's getting his shots away from, his good shots away from, he's doing the more pull to the right. Yeah,
well, I thought that was interesting. That was one of the first things I picked up on when I looked at this. Put it this way, he never, if he's ever an open play, he never pulls to the right flank. So he does pull to the left. So I would have expected a few more shots from those areas, but obviously not. But he still generally favours that area anyway, though.
Yeah, he's got this sort of curve around there to the right-hand side, this sort of...
Force field.
There's force field to that side. Those three to the left there, Rum's a little bit of an outlier. Everything else is sort of certainly in line with the 6-yard box and to the right, and a bit more from that right-hand side, which I think is interesting in terms of how he's going to work with Salah. These are Salah's key passes from last season. So if you look at that first, it's obviously very busy, but I think one of the things, it's so noisy, but one of the things that's striking is there's loads and loads of Salah's key passes into the area where you could imagine Salah passing to Salah. If you see what I mean, like it's in that strip of where you expect to see Salah shoot in line with the 6-yard box on the right hand side of the pitch. And having just looked at that from Isak, I wondered if that's where we're going to see a lot of Isak moving into to take shots with his first or second touch. That Salah, he'll make that run where Salah is. Salah will pull defenders to Salah because he remains this focal point. And Liverpool think genuinely there's a dovetail there that could work quite nicely, where the space that Salah creates by virtue of being Salah, Isak could move into. And if Isak starts to pull defenders, because they're like, Christ almighty, Isak scored 5 in the last 3, then Salah, they can swap almost, or they can swap in terms of setting up. And if we go into, these are Salah's better than 0.2 XG chances last season. What I think is interesting is a number of them are in that sort of Gakpo-ish or what could prove to be Ekitike-ish sort of space at the back post as well.
Post, yeah.
So the quality from Salah opportunities are there, but the volume opportunities are nearer. And I wonder if part of what Liverpool are gambling on in a way is this fella scores. This fella is good at getting quality shots away in unlikely areas. So you'll get the quality stuff from Salah around Ekitike and Gakpo. You'll get the volume stuff from Salah around Isak. And I think that could be magical numbers for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Salah become a bit of a facilitator at times with Nunes, you know, just kind of feeding Nunes as the tip of the spear, runs in behind and things like that. But Nunes missed a lot of them. I don't think Isak will. I think Isak will put them away, and I think the goal that we scored against Newcastle, where Rio scores, where Salah hits the ball into the box with his first touch, I can see that one happening quite a lot. It happens earlier in the game to Curtis Jones. Jones kind of misses it, doesn't actually come into a shot or anything like that, but that first time ball can be a problem.
What I think's interesting about that is you're talking about the stuff that I'm sure it does get measured in some analytics somewhere, but I really agree with this. So I think there's a little thing with, when you're talking about Nunez, one of the ways Nunez used to frustrate me was he'd make a chance less good.
Yeah.
And I think because he was such an unorthodox player and he was used to, for instance, you know, going into a wider, like for instance, there's the great goal he scores against Bournemouth last season. Part of it is he pulled himself into a slightly mad area. He scores one against Villa where he pulls himself into he makes it a little bit more unorthodox, and he does the business then. So it's not like he could never do the business once he did that. I wonder if one of the things that you might see is Liverpool be able to be more creative. You were talking before about Gyökeres. One of the things about him is people, for instance, think that Havertz misses a lot of chances, but Havertz gets himself into the place for the chances and makes the chances look a little bit easier than maybe they are. Like, I think Havertz is underrated in the grand scheme of things, and that's part. But then because the finish isn't tip top, people don't give the credit for the bit that he's got to get to the finish point.
Yeah.
Gyökeres looks to me like he needs the finish to be absolutely on a plate, at which point I think he'll gobble it up. Haaland's brilliant because he does both. He can take something that looks unorthodox and he can make it easier for himself, and he can also score from unorthodox angles. I think with Isak, one of the things that Liverpool have seen that they really like is I think they'll think there's an expected assists thing around Salah, using just Salah as an example, but I think there's others where I think Isak will take good balls and make them look very good, whereas Nunez would take good balls and make them look less good.
Yeah, I agree. I think Isak has I said yesterday on the free show, he's got like the finishing catalogue to be able to convert from kind of anywhere, like outside the box, you know, wide left and things like that. I think some strikers are a bit more like, you know, within the width of the 6-yard box, pen spots, and they put them away. But Isak can score all kinds of different goals. So when you're assisting that kind of player, you know, the sky's the limit really in terms of just putting the ball on a play for him kind of anywhere within the vicinity of the penalty box, and he can put it away.
You can indeed, when the pressure's on. Here's Wirtz's key passes last season playing for Bayer Leverkusen. Not quite as much of a clear pattern about them, but I am intrigued by the ones that are around the penalty area in there. The ones that result in this sort of raft of shots around here in that sort of loop, if you imagine a little horseshoe that loops around the pen spot, are the ones that, you know, I feel again as though Liverpool will be looking at that area, and again it pulls even more into shots in sort of a Salah-ish area. I'm feeling as though if Wirtz can be doing that, maybe taking it up a level or two, but doing that for Liverpool, then they'll have a player who can really provide for all three of the forwards, whatever three have been picked.
Yeah, I mean, see Wirtz in a game where Liverpool truly like dominate the ball.
We're all intrigued by Burnley away, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Like I said in the free show again yesterday, that Liverpool haven't been a goal down yet, so we haven't really seen that kind of penning a team in, final third game, break down a block. That's when Wirtz will get on the ball a lot. That's when he'll be tasked with finding the keys to the door and all that sort of thing. And if he's playing with Isak in front of him, Salah to his right, and even Gakpo to his left, who's got a shot on him and things like that, good at getting chances and stuff, it should in theory work really, really well. But I think we've seen him in games so far that have all been quite transition. In Arsenal's game, it was a bit more like just nothing happening at all. So I've had a bit of sympathy with the start, but I mean, to create chances, I mean, you said there's no pattern to it. That's arguably the beauty of him, that he doesn't have that kind of specific, you know, this is what I need to do to play well. He can just thrive no matter what. Like, he's got that variance to his game.
What's really interesting is TK was a bit of a provider. Again, if we look around the penalty area, especially playing for Eintracht Frankfurt, this is a lot of good stuff, a lot of clever little passes, a lot of creating good chances from Ekitike in there. I'm doing it from, again, starting position, playing the ball. A lot of those stem from that left-hand side. So again, maybe he's pulling a little bit more to the left, as we said before. Isak's shots coming a little bit more from the right. We know where Salah is. I think that there's things in there that make you go, okay, there's something around Ekitike. And then there's with him. there's all of his shots, and then we move on and we see the range of shots on target with the post-shot XG. I think what Liverpool will like, to go to your no pattern point, is obviously the 6-yard box finishes in there. But if we look at the stuff that's in the penalty area, it's a full spread from Ekitike, and I think Liverpool will like the feeling that he's very, very malleable in terms of where it is he wants to play his football at this point.
Yeah, well, I think I've described him a few times as a bit of a clone for Isak. He's a bit like Isak 3 years ago, to be honest. And Isak at that time did pull a little bit more to the left, did have that profile of potentially doing like Sadio Mane bits on the left. I was a bit surprised by the key pass map just then for Ekitike. There's more on the left than I expected. So that offers a lot of hope for his ability to cover Gakpo at times and things like that. I think he has got that forward element about him as opposed to being a strict 9 who stands in the box. He looks a bit more multifunctional for me than that. So lots of options in there and lots of goals as well.
Lots of goals indeed. All right, I want to move on and talk about Brighton and Hove Albion versus Manchester City, mainly just as a curio. I talked about it on Review Extra. It was a striking game of football. These are the two starting 11s. He shapes for them. You've got Diego Gomez, Baleba, bang on top of each other there. Hinchelwood dead interesting in terms of the position that he ends up picking up. He's down in the pit on the stats bomb position and is a midfield in a 4-2-3-1, but he's very much stood on Lewis Dunk's toes, coming over to that left hand side. Van Hecke given some responsibility to front three. With City, you get to see that they're a little, for want of a better phrase, squashed. Marmouche, lots of high on ball value, but doing it from a deeper area in terms of where he's getting on the ball, and they were trying to give Reinders the same sort of platform they gave him when they went to play Wolves and beat them heavily. It's I think it might actually be the same as the Wolves team. No, Kushinov doesn't start the Wolves game. Everyone else is the same as the one, maybe Rico Lewis as well. So it's 9 of the Wolves team from City's point of view. Second half is focusing more on Brighton, absolutely fascinating. So we go from a first half where you're able to see big battling centre midfielders in the middle, right on top of each other. They both come off on 60. I'll come on to that. Gruder and Rutter both come on 60. And they are placed so far ahead of where Welbeck was in terms of getting on the ball, whilst Matoma and Minter stay exactly the same. And then Ayari comes on and Milner, and they're more advanced than was previously happening as well. So you end up in this situation where effectively the entirety of Brighton's 4-4-2 through the spine of the pitch shifts itself 15-20 yards in terms of where it wants to pass the ball. They're not getting on the ball as much. They're almost happy to sacrifice that, and you go from there. The reason why I wanted to do this was to show the Brighton pressure maps, 295 pressures over the course of the game, Josh. In an hour, Gomez makes 53 and Baleba makes 38, and then they both get subbed.
Surprised he got subbed then. Christ, that's a lot of pressures. I didn't actually see the game, but I heard a lot of it was like around the hour mark, Rodri basically gets tired, and from then Brighton go and impose themselves. Is that kind of how it played out?
That's sort of how it played out. That's definitely true. But what is absolutely fascinating is on these subs is that he makes a quadruple sub.
Yeah.
On the hour mark. Makes a complete quadruple sub on the hour mark. He takes off Gomez, he takes off Baleba, he takes off Welbeck, and he takes off Hinchelwood. And he brings on Rutter, he brings on Milner, he brings on Gruder, and he brings on Ayari.
It's bold, isn't it?
We basically swaps this, when I talked about this four in midfield, the four in midfield and the two up top, he basically takes those 4 players who play through the middle of the pitch off and brings a fresh 4 on, and Rodri blows up.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting, yeah.
And they just run through the middle of them.
Yeah.
And City don't know what's going on. And this is the race chart for the game. And listen, there's a massive chance that City get around the hour mark, where if they go 2-0, a lot of this could just end up being completely moot. It's just after he's made these subs, they get Bob misses a good chance to go 2-0. But Brighton,
it's funny if you haven't. I didn't see the game, but anyone could look at Brighton's race map there. And pinpoint where you think Rodri might have got tired.
But it's also
and where those subs
where the subs come in.
And where the subs are made.
What's really interesting, and I'm saying it just trends, that's the race chart from last season, same game, same outcome, same result.
Yeah, it's a late flurry again, isn't it?
It's all after the hour mark.
Yeah.
All after the hour mark, Brighton go through the middle of them last season. Now, Rodri wasn't playing in that game last season, he had the injury. But Rodri had the injury last season. It gets to the hour mark, City being the better team first half, and Brighton just go through the middle of them on the hour mark. Last season, these were Brighton subs, made 1 on 45, 1 on 56, and then he's made 2 more by 65. And again, these are players who come on who all play through the middle of the pitch. Baleba, O'Reilly, Pedro and Gruder. They're not always necessarily coming on for someone who's playing through the middle of the pitch, but they all play through the middle of the pitch.
So it's like a little blueprint you're suggesting then?
So what I'm saying is that, so I'll end you with this.
Okay.
Okay. This is the full-on match stats from 2024. So cumulative XG 2.2 versus 1.8. Pass completion 87 versus 90. Pressures 279, 179. Regains 37 to 23. That's it. That's 24. This is this season. 2.3 to 1.7 on the cumulative XG. Possession 37 to 63, 40 to 60 year before. Pass completion is different. It was a slightly more phased game in terms of that. But even pressures, 279 to 294 for Brighton, 179 for City to 206. Pressure regains, there's some similarities. Brighton are, I think, a bit more front-footed on it this year, but so are City. So sides are pressing each other in a smart way, and that speaks to the pass completion. The point is, these games are hugely similar.
Yeah.
I'm struck by the coaching of that.
Well, it's the same managers in charge for both.
Yeah.
And I think I'm right in saying Hertler hasn't yet lost to Guardiola in all the times he's played him. And it's not too many, but I don't think he's suffered defeat yet, which is some going against Guardiola. I think it's something like four or five games or something like that in all comps, and he hasn't lost yet. So maybe that is like a little blueprint. I haven't picked up on that. It's
interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I've wondered why managers lower down haven't done it a bit more. I wonder about his 4 subs on an hour mark, if you know what I mean. With the 4, I think my instinct watching the game and watching the game back was 3 of them were planned, and I think he just goes, fuck it, I'm doing Milner for Hinshelwood. But that's my instinct. 3 of them are planned, and I think he decides he's going to just throw a Mickey in with Milner, and it works for him. And he does them all at once. And I've been struck by, you know, I think, for instance, Frank has been, when he was at Brentford, when the 5 subs first came in, I think Frank was prepared to be quite bold quite early with subs in a different way. If this didn't work, if City had gone 2-0, no one would care. And even on this day, you know, it's interesting because this is the first game of the day. We play Arsenal, which is a much bigger game, and then Villa play Palace, and it was all a bit mad, and then it was the transfer deadline day. There's not actually been much chat about this.
No.
That he does this, and the similarities year on year. There's not been much analysis. It's almost got lost in the noise a little bit because the bigger game was the game to follow, and then there's the transfers. But I wonder whether or not there might be a few coaches up and down the country, not just for games against City, but maybe for games against Liverpool and Arsenal, who've got 18 really good players who might be thinking to themselves, that's interesting, that.
Yeah. So do you think around the hour mark the plan will have been almost to be 0-0 then, as opposed to
1-0 down? Yeah. Happy to be a bit disorganised, hound the life out of them in the middle of the park. He's got his 2 biggest pressers in the middle of the park on the pitch, and have Welbeck sacrifice himself as well. You sacrifice yourselves for an hour, boys, and then we're going to bring on the lads who are going to win the game. Yeah,
and it worked perfectly, even though they were goal down. Yeah, it's interesting. It's one to keep an eye on, that one.
It is one to keep an eye on. That's a trend to keep an eye on for you. Thank you very much, Josh. That's been the Trends.